Mark your calendars, June 9th, the end of the US dollar as the global reserve currency. Then goes in to say, on June 9th, in the year of our Lord 2024, the agreement between the United States and Saudi Arabia to sell Saudi oil in US dollars exclusively ends. Saudi's prince has already notified the US that this agreement will not be renewed and they will no longer accept US dollars.
Let's
So,
talk about that.
yeah.
Like I said, I give John a lot of credit. He's a hell of a researcher, but this is a dangerous one. And I've always said that when you come out, see, I live in a world of probabilities, and I have been saying that that was going to happen for, I don't know, almost 4 years. In every podcast I've been doing, that's the thesis that I run with. You know that. I've said that on your channel since day one, and it will happen. The probability of it happening is extreme. Is it going to happen June 9th? I'll tell you why he's saying that. But let's go back for a moment. And at the end of 2023, this is an interesting take. The Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia said China was our most important trading partner this year and for the next 50. Now, those words may have been chosen very carefully. June 6th today, it's debatable if it was the 6th or the 9th. If you read about it, it's kind of hard to figure out exactly, but one of these 3 days is 50-year anniversary of Kissinger signing the petrodollar deal. And then, for all intents and purposes, a 50-year deal where we protect the Saudis and by extension OPEC, and they then will denominate oil globally in dollars, and all of their excess surplus will go into U.S. treasuries. Now, when you take a look, first of all, at the U.S. Treasury roll, China as an example, there are many others that are doing the same thing, but we'll just focus on China for a moment. If you look at the difference between their treasuries being sold and their metal being bought, it's going like this. They're dumping treasuries. They're down to just over 700 billion from close to 3 trillion. Slowly, not too fast to cut off their nose to spite their face. But at the same time, their gold acquisition and their silver acquisition has been running rampant for almost 20 months in a row, unabated. And that's what they tell us. They're also the largest producer of it in the world. We have no idea how much they buy, what they're buying around the world by their sovereign wealth funds that aren't being reported. Maybe they're buying gazillions of dollars worth of coins all over the world too. Who knows? The point is that they are increasing their metal content and decreasing their exposure to the treasury market. So, I have my ear to the grindstone pretty well. If John is breaking this story, it's pretty amazing. I haven't heard it, but it wouldn't shock me because I've been saying it's going to happen. Now, to go out and say the Saudis have already told the West that this is the case, don't know where he heard that. Pretty extraordinary if it is the case. To say that it is done, pretty extraordinary. But let's think for a moment what happens if it is done. Every country on the planet who's had to stockpile dollars for 50 years doesn't have to do that anymore. And the massive dumping of dollars would create hyperinflation or a massive surge in inflation, at least here. The byproduct of which is that interest rates have to rise to compensate for that inflationary loss of purchasing power. And what does that do to the banking system that's over leveraged and undercapitalized, to the insurance companies that are loaded with treasuries, and to the real estate market, the bond market, the stock market? It's bang. It's a horrible religious experience at that point, if indeed it does happen the way that he's saying. I will say there's one other thing that's worth mentioning, and this just happened yesterday. We talked a lot about the Project mbridge, which came out last year, which is a cross-border payment system that sidesteps SWIFT. It is a digital system that allows the cross-border settlement of digital currencies using not using SWIFT. Now, it's interesting because I have felt for the last year or so that gold and oil are being remonetized across the globe. I would make the statement that commodities such as gold, silver, and oil are, and others, copper and food and, like wheat and soybeans and corn, all this stuff, rare earths, they're becoming more valuable than currency. I do believe that. And that's the Zoltan Pozsar. We're in Bretton Woods 3, where Bretton Woods 1 when we took over for the pound sterling after World War II, Bretton Woods 2 loosely when we became the petrodollar in 74, and Bretton Woods 3, a new system where it's all about commodities, backing a system. And this is where the marriage between blockchain and commodities come in. And we've been told that by the Russian finance minister, Sergei Glaziev, that this is indeed what will happen at some point when they issue their common settlement currency for the BRICS. It will be pegged to a basket of commodities and a basket of currencies. Okay, so we know that. But I have felt for a while, like if you take a look at oil being, when China won a contract to modernize Iran's biggest airport, they settled for it to be paid in oil. When you take a look at Saudi Arabia selling China their oil for the digital yuan or for the petro yuan bond, both are immediately convertible into gold in the Shanghai Gold Exchange. So you have gold and oil really taking on a role, as far as I'm concerned, and being remonetized globally. And if you look at what the project mbridge has done, their first two trades were both done last year. One was like in November and one was in December. The first one was a cross-border payment using the digital yuan, using Project mbridge for oil. And I think it was with UAE, but I'm not positive. And the second one was a cross-border payment for gold using the Project mbridge and the digital yuan. So I find it interesting that an article came out yesterday from Reuters saying Saudi Arabia has just joined a China-dominated central bank digital currency cross-border trial in what would be another step towards less of the world's oil trade being done in U.S. dollars. The move announced by the Bank for International Settlements on Wednesday will see Saudi central bank become a full participant of project, and this is in quotes, a full participant of Project mbridge, a collaboration launched in 2021 between the central banks of Hong Kong, China, Hong Kong, Thailand, and the United Arab Emirates. And so, what does this mean? Now, I'm almost certain it was Thailand. Let me just double check. I want to say that Thailand just joined the BRICS or formally applied, and I think they did. Yep. So Thailand has just formally applied to the BRICS. China is in the BRICS. The United Arab Emirates is in the BRICS. Saudi Arabia is in the BRICS. Do you see a trend in all of this? So is it going to happen on the 9th, man? I don't know. And I think it's better to speak in terms of probabilities rather than to pigeonhole yourself into the 9th. But I will tell you, this will be one of the greatest calls I've ever seen in my career if he nails it, because I have dug. When I read that article, I looked everywhere. Where the hell is he getting this? And I can't find it. So maybe he's right. But it does mark the 50-year end of the deal. And when you put it in context with the mbridge and with the Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia's admission last year that China was our most important trading partner this year and for the next 50, were those words specifically chosen, or is he just speaking hypothetically? So, dude, as the Chinese curse goes, may you live in interesting times. And honest to God, I don't know that I've ever seen more interesting times where every single day something new is happening. And these are some big developments nonetheless.
I don't like that he said June 9th, because then if it's not, or if nothing happens on June 9th, people might think it's not as credible. Regardless, this is something that is happening and will soon. I don't like, and that's 3 days away. Like, holy shit. But here's what's let's look around the globe. BRICS meeting to install the end around the US dollar, gram of gold for barrel of oil. Ukraine continues to siphon the taxpayers' wealth. Congress illegal insider trades are intensifying. About 1.7 trillion, or nearly 30% of outstanding commercial real estate debt, is expected to mature from 2024 to 2026. Most of this debt's going to need to reprice during this time, at a time when office values may have fallen about 34% from the 2021 peak. Also says many commercial buildings are selling 75% less than last purchase price. Example, FedEx building in Ohio sold for $9. Corporate layoffs are intensifying.
Hang on, stop right there before you keep going. Yeah. I've never seen anything like this in my life. The former One AT&T Center in St. Louis, I probably brought this up on your show, the third tallest building in St. Louis, 34 stories, I want to say, was sold for 205 or 6 million in 2006. Just sold for $3.7 million. Yes, you heard that right. $3.7 million for a 34-story tall office building, third tallest building in downtown St. Louis, just sold for 3.7 million. It was sold to a real estate investment trust in 2005 or 6 for 206 million.
consumer goods under lock and key at Walmart's, Targets, and throughout Main Street America. COVID war ravaged what is left of our family-owned businesses. Biden stuff. You guys can check this out. Silverindustry.substack.